This is a story about love, but not the kind you see in movies. Stay tuned, this one feels a little too real. 9 years ago, a man disappeared the night before his wedding. Everyone believed he had run away. But the truth was far worse. And the woman he left behind would only discover it, 9 years later. The rain that night felt heavier than usual. Not the gentle kind that calms the city, but the kind that makes everything feel uncertain. Inside a small cafe near the train station, Elena sat alone at a corner table. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago. She hadn't noticed. 'Cause her eyes were fixed on something else. A wedding invitation. Her wedding invitation. The date printed on the card was tomorrow. But the man she was supposed to marry had vanished. No message. No explanation. Just silence. And the worst part was, everyone believed he had simply changed his mind. Everyone except Elena. Outside the cafe, life continued like nothing had happened. Cars passed. People laughed. Umbrellas moved quickly through the rain. But inside Elena's mind, everything felt frozen. Lucas wasn't the kind of man who disappeared. He was calm. Responsible. The type of man who planned everything carefully. For 2 years he had talked about their future like it was something certain. The apartment they would buy. The children they wanted. The life they would build together. So how could someone like that simply vanish the night before his own wedding? The answer didn't make sense. And that was exactly why Elena refused to believe the rumors. 3 tables away, an old television hung on the cafe wall. It was playing the evening news. Most customers weren't paying attention. But Elena suddenly heard a name that made her turn. The police are still investigating the accident that occurred late last night. The news anchor continued speaking calmly. A car was discovered abandoned near the coastal highway. Elena felt her heart begin to beat faster. Because the car on the screen looked familiar. Very familiar. It looked exactly like Lucas's car. The screen showed the damaged car parked near the side of a dark road. Police lights flashed in the background. But something about the image felt wrong. The reporter continued speaking. The driver has not yet been located. Not located. The words echoed in Elena's mind. Missing. Lucas wasn't gone. He was missing. And suddenly the story everyone believed began to fall apart. The screen showed the damaged car parked near the side of a dark road. Police lights flashed in the background. But something about the image felt wrong. The reporter continued speaking. The driver has not yet been located. Not located. The words echoed in Elena's mind. Missing. Lucas wasn't gone. He was missing. And suddenly the story everyone believed began to fall apart. 9 years later. The city had changed. New buildings stood where old shops used to be. New faces filled the streets. But some memories never moved forward with time. Elena had learned to live quietly. She worked at a small bookstore now, surrounded by stories written by strangers. Sometimes she wondered if her own life had simply paused that rainy night. Most people believed Lucas had abandoned her. Eventually the city forgot the story. But Elena never did. Because deep down, something always felt unfinished. And that feeling returned the moment the bookstore door opened that afternoon. A man walked in slowly. At first Elena didn't look up. Customers came and went all the time. But something about the silence in the room suddenly felt strange. Like the air itself had shifted. Then she heard footsteps approaching the counter. Calm. Measured. Familiar. When Elena finally looked up, her heart stopped. Because the man standing in front of her looked exactly like someone she had buried in her memories 9 years ago. For a long moment neither of them spoke. The entire bookstore felt frozen. Elena searched his face carefully. The same eyes. The same quiet expression. The same man she once planned to spend her life with. But something was different. Lucas looked at her politely, almost like a stranger. Not with recognition. Not with regret. Just confusion. Then he said something that shattered the moment completely. "Excuse me, do you work here?" Elena felt her hands begin to shake. 9 years. 9 years of questions. 9 years of believing something terrible had happened. And now the man standing in front of her looked at her like they had never met. "Lucas," she whispered softly. The name seemed to confuse him even more. He frowned slightly. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" The words landed like a quiet explosion. Because the man she loved didn't remember her at all. Elena slowly stepped away from the counter. Her mind raced through 1,000 possibilities. Was he pretending? Was this some cruel joke? Or something far worse? Lucas looked genuinely confused. Like a man searching for answers he couldn't find. Then he noticed something on the counter. The wedding invitation Elena had kept all these years, pressed inside a book. He picked it up slowly. And the moment he read the names printed on it, his expression changed. Like a memory trying to break through, Lucas stared at the invitation. Then suddenly held his head like something inside his mind was breaking open. Fragments of memory. Rain. A highway. Flashing police lights. And one final image. A car crashing into darkness. Lucas looked at Elena again. This time with fear in his eyes. And asked a question that changed everything. "Did something happen to me?" Lucas staggered backward slightly. His hand still pressed against his head. The memories were not clear yet, only fragments. Rain hitting a windshield. A phone ringing. A voice shouting his name. Elena watched him carefully, afraid to move. Because for the first time in 9 years, Lucas looked like a man standing on the edge of remembering something terrifying. "Lucas, what do you remember?" she asked quietly. He shook his head slowly. "Nothing before, a hospital." Lucas sat down slowly in the chair near the counter. His breathing was uneven now. 3 years ago. "I woke up in a hospital," he said. "A doctor told me I had been found unconscious after an accident." Elena's heart tightened. Lucas continued speaking carefully. "They said I had severe memory loss. No identification, no family, nothing." The words echoed in the quiet bookstore. For 9 years Elena believed Lucas had abandoned her. But the truth was beginning to sound very different. Elena felt the world shift beneath her. "Lucas, your car was found on the highway the night before our wedding." Lucas looked up suddenly. "Our wedding?" She nodded slowly. "You disappeared that night." Lucas leaned back in the chair, stunned. Because the more Elena spoke, the more the fragments in his mind began to connect. The rain. The road. The flashing lights. And suddenly he remembered something else. Someone else. Lucas stood up abruptly. "There was another car," he said. Elena froze. "What?" Lucas closed his eyes, trying to focus. "Yes, another car. It forced me off the road." The memory felt sharp now. Too sharp. Like a hidden truth finally breaking through years of darkness. This wasn't an accident. Elena felt chills run down her spine. Because if Lucas was right, then someone had deliberately caused the crash. Which meant something else was possible too. Lucas didn't abandon her. Someone tried to erase him. Lucas looked down at the wedding invitation again. Then he said something that made Elena's heart stop. "I think someone wanted me to disappear." Lucas suddenly looked toward the bookstore window. Outside, a black car had just stopped across the street. The engine was still running. And inside the car, someone was watching them. Someone who clearly knew Lucas had just remembered the truth. Elena slowly turned toward the bookstore window. The black car was still there, parked across the quiet street. The headlights were off, but the engine hummed faintly in the night. Lucas followed her gaze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lucas whispered something that made the air feel colder. "I think that car has been following me." Elena's mind raced. "Following you since when?" she asked. Lucas tried to remember. "I started noticing it about 2 weeks ago. Same car, different places. Coffee shop. Hospital parking lot. Grocery store." At first, he thought it was coincidence. But now, standing here with memories returning, the pattern suddenly felt terrifyingly clear. Someone had been watching him. Waiting. Across the street, the driver inside the black car shifted slightly. The glow from the dashboard briefly illuminated his face. He picked up his phone and spoke quietly. "He remembers." A pause. Then a calm voice answered from the other end. "That's unfortunate." The driver glanced back at the bookstore window. "Should I handle it now?" Another pause. Then the answer came. "No. Follow them." Inside the bookstore, Lucas suddenly felt uneasy. The feeling was instinctive. Like something deep inside him was warning him. "We should leave," he said quietly. Elena nodded. She grabbed her bag quickly. The bookstore lights clicked off one by one. Outside, the street felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. They stepped onto the sidewalk. Cold air brushed against their faces. Lucas looked down the street. The black car started slowly. Its headlights flickered on and began rolling toward them. Elena's voice trembled. "Lucas, that's the car." Lucas stared at it. Then said the one thing neither of them expected. "I think I know who sent them." Lucas looked at Elena. His voice barely above a whisper. "The person behind the crash was at our wedding rehearsal." Elena's heart dropped. 'Cause only 5 people had been there that night. And one of them was her own brother. Elena stared at Lucas in disbelief. "My brother?" she whispered. "That's impossible." Her brother, Daniel, had been the one comforting her when Lucas disappeared. He helped organize the search. He even stood beside her when the police finally closed the case. Lucas shook his head slowly. "I didn't remember everything until now. But Daniel and we argued that night." Lucas closed his eyes, forcing the memory forward. "It was after the rehearsal dinner," he said. "Daniel asked me to meet him near the highway." At first Lucas thought it was something about the wedding. But the conversation quickly turned strange. Daniel asked him a question that felt completely out of place. "Are you sure you want to marry my sister?" Lucas had laughed at the time. But Daniel hadn't. Daniel's voice that night was cold. "Because if you marry her, everything changes." Lucas had frowned. "What are you talking about?" Then Daniel revealed something Lucas never expected. Their father's company, the family inheritance, the property Elena would legally share after marriage. Daniel believed Lucas was marrying her for money. Lucas tried to explain. But Daniel had already made up his mind. The argument grew louder. Rain began to fall. Lucas finally got into his car to leave. But as he drove away, another pair of headlights suddenly appeared behind him. Fast. Too fast. Lucas remembered Daniel's car accelerating. Then the road. The impact. And darkness. Back in the present, Elena felt tears forming in her eyes. "My brother," tried to kill you? Lucas looked down quietly. I don't think he meant to kill me. But he definitely wanted to stop the wedding. The black sedan across the street suddenly stopped moving. The driver inside seemed to realize something important. Lucas had remembered everything. Which meant the truth was finally alive again. Back in the present, Elena felt tears forming in her eyes. My brother tried to kill you? Lucas looked down quietly. I don't think he meant to kill me. But he definitely wanted to stop the wedding. The black sedan across the street suddenly stopped moving. The driver inside seemed to realize something important. Lucas had remembered everything. Which meant the truth was finally alive again. Elena's phone suddenly rang. The caller ID made her blood run cold. Daniel. Her hands trembled as she answered. His voice sounded calm. Too calm. I see Lucas finally found you. Elena froze. Daniel continued speaking slowly. You should both come home. A pause. Then he added something that changed everything again. There's something about that night. Lucas still doesn't remember.